Hello and welcome to Mike's Arts and Crafts. I'm Libby Hoffmeister and today I'll be sharing die cutting with mixed media supplies. I have been waiting for the Honeybee Lovely Layer lures to come in for a long time and I finally got them. I've been waiting to use a bunch of mixed media supplies with them because I thought it would just be totally perfect for it and I was so excited to get started. So I have some pink and like a bluish teal color cardstock and I am applying paste onto them. I have Stickles paste in Venus and Galaxy and I'm just taking my palette knife and applying a thick layer of paste because these are small die cuts. I wanted to make sure I could get as much glitter and paste on each one as possible, so I applied a thicker layer. You could of course apply a thinner layer if you want, and so yeah, I just applied a thick layer of paste onto each of these pieces, and I just applied the coordinating paste onto the coordinating color. Because this is a kind of translucent or clear base to the paste, I grabbed some colors of cardstock to go behind them. You could of course use white. Another option for paste is some solar paste or lunar paste from Simon Hurley. I just used what I had around the house and you can too. So yeah, it's pretty simple. I just cleaned it up with a paper towel and let it dry. It did take a little while to dry because this is a thick application, but it was definitely worth it. And then I will die cut it here. So I'm just following the Honeybee layering guide that is online. If you go to their website under where you would buy the die set, there's a link to the layering guide. I just printed it on a smaller scale and cut it down so I can put it in my die pocket with the dies, and it's at easy access. I just looked at it once and it was pretty self-explanatory from there, but I am keeping it with the die set just for future reference, and it's really easy to follow and everything. So yeah, I am cutting out as much as I can from each of these sheets of my glitter paste cardstock, and then I'm also bringing in some glitter cardstock, so that's another mixed media option you could use to die cut from, and it looks really great with other mediums as well. It's a nice kind of base or neutral when you're talking about mixed medias, so I think that's really fun. And then I'm just cutting all the elements. I decided to use a coordinating color of glitter to the color of paste that I used, and then I also brought in silver as an accent because the glitter paste has some silver accents in it, so I decided to use some silver glitter as well for this project, and I just cut them all out. And that was pretty simple. I have sped this up because it is a pretty repetitive process, so this one's a little bit slower so you can kind of see my process, and then I will speed it up even more from there. So this is very sped up, but I think it's a pretty simple process and you can kind of customize this to how you work and the die sets you have and the mixed media supplies you have as well. So it's very simple. And then I'm going to use another mixed media supply. These are just old backgrounds I have. You know, I always say that if you have old backgrounds, you can use small dies with them to use them. So that's what I'm doing here. I had a bunch of scraps of old backgrounds that I had made. I think I just took some acrylic paint and I splattered it on in several shades of the same color onto one piece of paper, and I got these really fun splattery backgrounds that I think actually made really great lures. I was unsure at the beginning, but I actually really like how they turned out, and it's a really great option. So you can just use your old backgrounds that you have to die cut from and get a lot out of. And that was pretty simple. I'm just putting all of my die cuts for one mixed media supply into a little container, and it will be really easy to assemble and use later on in the video. So that's a great option if you want to use that. Next, I'm going to be using mica stain backgrounds, and these backgrounds are really great. Again, they were just kind of some backgrounds I had laying around, but you can make them very simply by just spritzing the mica stain or any spray, as a matter of fact, that you have onto a piece of cardstock. Just make sure you shake it up to get all of the shimmery goodness out of them and onto the paper. And then you can die cut from them. Also, if you're doing another project, you can pick up the excess mica stain on a background and use that to die cut from. That's, I think, where most of these backgrounds came from, and it's a really, really great option. I also brought back in the glitter cardstock to cut some accents for the mica stains, and I just, did coordinating colors to match, and I think it actually turned out really, really great, and they complemented each other really, really nicely. I also did a few that were just mica stain, so I could play with some different color options and stuff there, and that's what I have. And then I also did some foil cardstock, which you'll see in a minute. I did a hot foil video like a few weeks ago where I made foil paper out of my hot foil machine. So I will link that in the upper right corner if you're interested in watching that. But I thought I would use some more today, so you'll see me pull out that it was the rainbow foil paper, and then I also have some other rainbow foil paper from Simon Says Stamp that I'm also trying to use up here in this video, and I think it turned out really, really great. These were actually one of my favorites. I really, really love how they turned out, and I think they were a really, really great option. I think these foil cardstocks work really, really great with like the lures and the style of lures that I was going for. So I think foil cardstock is another really, really great option. I also used the holographic foil cardstock from that video for some accents, and I think they turned out just perfect, and I really, really love them. I assembled all of them off camera, but again, I just used the layering guide, and it was really, really simple. I cut the hooks out of some silver cardstock, and I just glued them onto all of them, and you can see I have them in their little cups, and it was really, really easy to use, and I got a lot from it. I channeled my inner Jennifer Maguire, and I cut out a bunch of them, so yeah. And then I wanted to foil some sentiments on there with the holographic foil because I just felt like it kind of matched the style I was going for all of these lures. So I'm using the Spellbinders Mini Everyday Sentiments, and I'm foiling them onto some different pieces of cardstock. I used kind of like a medium gray and a black for these because I thought they paired really, really well. But yeah, I'm just using a little piece of the holographic foil, and I'm running it through the machine. I'm hoping to do, again, a hot foil video later. I still haven't got to it yet, but I'm hoping to share that, so you can check that out when it is out and learn a little bit more in depth. There's also great videos out there on YouTube, so if you want a more in-depth look, you can search it up on YouTube and find a lot of different options. But yeah, I'm simply just foiling it onto some cardstock. I'm just lining it up as best as I can. If you do have a mistake, you can just cut it out as a strip and add it onto another background, which is what I ended up doing for one of them, and it really wasn't a big deal at all, and it still looks really, really great. So there's a lot of options. If you mess up, it's pretty like forgiving, I'd say, but yeah, I just lined it up as best as I could, and then I would just foil it onto the piece of paper. I did a few black and a few like medium or dark gray color, and then you will see I am going to bring in my embossing machine, or I will bring in my die cutting machine to emboss in just a minute, and I'll kind of explain that a little bit more in depth. But yeah, I did the holographic foil on all of them with various different sentiments. I focus mostly on like birthday and celebration and thank you for these, and just foiled them on all of the little pieces. Next, I will spritz the back of these panels, and I'm going to only apply them like halfway into the embossing folder I'm using. This one is from Spellbinders. It's the Optical Arches one, or not. It's not the Optical Arches. It's the I would have to go check. I think it's the Spellbinders Circle Illusion folder, and I just put the cardstock halfway in on the bottom, and I embossed it like I normally would, and it created half embossing so that the sentiment part didn't have any embossing. It was actually a really fun look. I kind of saw this idea on Giannis Makula's video, and I thought it was a great idea to use with Glimmer Sentiments. I think it looks really, really great, and it kind of complements the Lovely Lures and lets them stand out. It was just a really, really great option. And then I spritz the background so that there's no cracking in the paper. It helps the fibers like move to the shape of the embossing folder and like loosens them up so that they don't crack. And yeah, I got really, really great results. And then I will just put them all to get all these cards together quickly. So I am using all of the hooks with the glitter paste and glitter cardstock. And then I will just add them across above the sentiment here on a black card base with the sentiment. I just added them with some liquid glue and lined them up across the card panel. I think this was a really, really great looking card. It was super, super simple once I had all the pieces together, and it was really, really easy to assemble. And yeah, I think it looks really, really great and would be perfect card to send for a birthday. I think this one could work for feminine or masculine card, especially depending on the color of paste you use. So yeah, there's just a lot of options here, and I thought I think it looks really, really great on this card. It was definitely one of my favorite cards from this video. I really, really love the glitter paste with this. I think the glitter paste was one of my favorites, along with the foil cardstock. They look really, really great with these lures and are a really, really great option, I think, if you have them lying around or want to use them. This is a really great option. Next, I'm using the mica stain and glitter cardstock backgrounds, and glitter cardstock lures, and I'm adding them to this background. I decided to create like an all over like pattern background. So I'm just applying the lures in various different positions on this piece, just all around, whatever I think looks good. I'm trying to alternate the different types of lures and like different sizes and stuff and colors so that I can get a little bit of a mix. And I think this one turned out really, really great too. It was super, super simple once I had all the pieces in place, and yeah, it was pretty simple. I did want to note that for the eyes, I used a jelly roll, I think it was. Let me grab the pen here. It is a glaze jelly roll pen from Shakira, I think. And it kind of gives this nice like glossy look to the eyes. And then I kind of wanted them to look a little bit more glossy, so I added some glossy accents over the top. And I think it created the perfect eye. So you can use more mixed media supplies there if you have them. So if you have glossy accents and like a little bit of a black pen, you don't even need the jelly roll pen. You could even use a regular black pen and add some glossy accents over the top to add the perfect touch to the eyes. I think that really finished off the lures as well as the hooks. It just really, really finished them off and made them look spectacular. So yeah. And then I'm just finishing up adding all the pieces to this card. I did add a little bit of thin cardboard to the back to give some dimension. You know, I like to do that. It's a very cheap and inexpensive way to use up things that you have around your house and get dimension. It's much cheaper than foam tape or any other foam squares or whatever that you have, and it's a really great option. Now I think these foiled ones looked really, really great on the black cardstock. It really stood out and was the star of the show for these. So I really, really loved these. I decided to go with like kind of a blue-green look here. And then I will save the rest for a future card. I was going to glue these down with liquid glue, but it didn't quite work, so I decided I'd use foam squares. In hindsight, I think I should have used some thin cardboard and just used it on the back, like you'll see in future clips or in my future cards here in a minute. But I decided to use foam squares. I don't think it looks finished quite as well, but I think this is a really, really pretty card and stuff. So yeah, I will just add the lures on with a few foam squares. It was kind of a tedious process to put all these foam squares on there, so I think I should have done some like thin cardboard and just layered it up to give slight dimension and help it stick better to the embossed background, but I didn't do that, and I think this card still turned out really, really great, and it was definitely one of my favorites because of the nice foil cardstock and all the different textures and stuff in it, so yeah. And then I will, and that will pretty much finish off this card as well. I will add a few embellishments here. Oh yeah, I did add this onto a white card base, and I added some thin cardboard to the back of that as well, to just give a little bit of dimension and texture to my card. And I'll move on to the next one. This one used the old backgrounds that I had, and I am just adding that to this in a different arrangement. I wanted to just play with a bunch of different arrangements and use make at least one card with every like type of lure I made. And this just really finished it off, and I think this was a really, really fun card. This one actually ended up being another one of my favorites. I really actually liked them all, but I think this one turned out a lot better than I had originally expected. I wasn't super in love with these when I first made them, but once I got all the finishing touches on them, I think they actually look really, really great and were a great option. Here you can see me putting on the thin cardstock on the back of these lures, and this was a much better option, and it worked a lot better. You can see the glimmer sentiment there. I cut out a strip because it didn't look very great, so I cut out the strip of the sentiment, and I just glued it onto the same color of card panel, and I think you can't really notice it that much, especially on camera here, but you can't really notice it in person either. So if you mess up, don't be afraid to just cut out the sentiment and apply it to the same color of cardstock, and yeah, I think it totally looked fine and was a great option because it didn't work super well. So yeah, there's always a way to fix your mistakes, so yeah. Here are just the mica stain ones, so I glued them in with different colors and stuff, and I just had fun playing around with different colors and textures here, so yeah. And then I laid out 3 of them, kind of like the card with the foiled ones, and I will apply them the same way with the thin cardboard on the back, just to add a little bit of dimension, and it worked really well. Very, very similar to the last cards. I went with a similar idea. I wanted to keep them all fairly simple after I had spent all that time gluing all the little pieces to the lures together. But this really turned out awesome and was another great card. So yeah, I will just apply it onto a white card base. These are all A2 size card bases, so 5.5 by 4 1/4. And yeah, pretty simple. Again, the same kind of thing. Adding these, I just cut it down to fit them, and I layer up 2, but you could obviously add more. I might add more if I were to go back, but I think this was really a simple way to finish off these cards. Again, after I had spent all that time layering the lures together and stuff. But yeah. So I'm just going to finish this up here with some of that thin cardboard, adding it onto the back again, and yeah. I will add embellishments to all of these cards here in just a moment, and I chose various different ones. I have a few white sequins, and then I also chose some marshmallow pearls from Studio Katia. These ones kind of take on, or actually both of these options take on kind of like the color of like things around them, so they played really, really well with all the other shiny and fun elements of mixed media to these cards, and I think they just really help them shine and give that kind of lure feel, so I think they were a fun option. I'm just using a pickup stick here to help me place the embellishments, and then a little liquid glue. And yeah, that finished all of these cards off. They were really, really simple cards, and I had a lot of fun die cutting them out of various different mixed media supplies, and it's a great way to use your small dies or big dies even, and get different looks from them rather than just plain cardstock or ink blended cardstock. So definitely check out like your mixed media kind of cardstocks and supplies and use them with your dies. I think they were a really, really great option, and it really actually helped me use up some of my backgrounds and different things. So yeah, really great option. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and come back next week for a new video. If you are interested in any of the supplies I used today, check the description box below. For more inspiration, please consider liking and subscribing, and for even more inspiration, check out my Instagram and Pinterest accounts at Meister Arts and Crafts. Thank you so much again. Have a great day. I'll see you soon.